Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to the School of Personal Finance. So today we're going to be talking buying versus leasing a car. Now, there are many financial experts who say leasing is the worst thing you could do. It's the most expensive way to drive a car. And then you have other people who are like, you know what? I want a new car every 3 years. I like having a lower monthly payment. I love that new car smell. I want the newest technology. So which one is the best way to go? And it does really depend on your situation. But in this video, I'm going to break it all down. I'm going to go through a real life example looking at leasing a car versus buying a car versus buying a used car and see which one comes out on top. Let's go through the examples. I'll share my thoughts with you and try to help you decide the best and cheapest way for you to own the car that you want to be driving. All right, let's get to it. All right, so let me start out by saying some things that I might think are obvious, but maybe they're not. And they're things that everybody should know when it comes to dealing with cars. The first one is cars depreciate the most in the first few years. So the first year that you own a car, depending on the make and the model and everything, it will typically depreciate, meaning lose value, about 25% in the first year. So if you buy a car for $40,000, you drive it for a year, it's really worth about $30,000 at the end of that year. And that is the most that it is going to depreciate over the life of the car. So the first year is the biggest. And then years 2, 3, and 4, they typically depreciate at around 10% each of those years. So after 5 years in the car, it has basically lost about half of its value. So now the next thing that is pretty obvious is that it's great driving a new car. You get that new car smell, you get the newest technology, it's exciting. You go and you show your family and your friends your new car. It's a big deal getting a new car, and everybody likes to drive a new car. But on the flip side of that, it's also really nice to not have a car payment. A lot of people haven't experienced living without a car payment, and it's very nice not having to stroke a check for that car payment every month. So it comes down to, you need to decide which one is more important to you and which one fits into your lifestyle more. But it's not that easy to get rid of a car payment. Typically, you either have to have the money or you have to drive the car for a long time. And most Americans, they don't fall into either one of those categories. Now, the ideal situation for everybody is to have a brand new car, drive it for a short period of time until it's not brand new anymore, and then you go and you get yourself another brand new car that you love and that you're going to go have fun in. And that's not a bad thing. It just costs a lot more if you do it that way. So if you have the money to do it, then go for it by all means. But if you're struggling, if you're not saving for retirement, if you have any other debt, if you're not reaching your financial goals and you're buying new cars and driving them for a few years and then getting another new car, it's probably not the best thing for your overall financial situation. So a big thing to consider when looking for a car is, how long are you willing to keep that car? And again, the longer that you're willing to drive that car, the less expensive it is going to be over those years, over the life of having that car. If you're willing to drive a car for 10 years, it is going to cost you much less than if you lease a new car every 24 months or so. So now when you're leasing, what you're doing is you're renting the car. You're only paying for the amount of depreciation plus some, dealer profit, some interest, but you're really only paying for the amount that car is going down in value over the term of the lease. So if you lease a car for 3 years, the dealership is going to tell you how much that car is going to depreciate over those 3 years, and that is what your lease is going to be based on. At the end of the lease, each car has what's called a residual value, which is the amount that you could buy it out for at the end of the lease. That's the amount that the dealership is estimating the car will be worth at the end of the lease. So now, because it's only for a 3-year period, your payments are going to be less than if you purchase a car. When you purchase a car, you're buying the whole thing. So your payments are going to be more. But now when comparing leasing to purchasing a car, you have to look at the overall cost of the lease. So you have to look at the monthly payment amount. You have to look at the amount that you have to put down when you initially take out the lease, and then any taxes and title and registration and all that stuff. You look at the overall cost over the term of the lease. But the biggest downside to leasing is that you always have a monthly payment. And the cost of cars, they're always going up. So your monthly payment, it's always going to be going up throughout your entire life. So now with buying a car, it's much more straightforward. If you're going to finance it, you get a loan. It's over a specific term, 5 years, 6 years. The longer years are becoming more popular now, but there's an interest rate associated with it. You have a monthly payment. You make the payments on it. At the end of the term, when you make that last payment, you now own the vehicle and you have equity in that car. It's pretty straightforward like any other loan. Every year that you go after when that loan is done, that's a year that you have no car payments, which is a great thing. But if you decide that you do want to maybe sell it and upgrade into a new car, you now have equity. You have a car that's worth something that you could use to either trade in, sell, get the cash for, go buy something else. So it's more flexible, it gives you more options, and you have some money at the end of the day. Some other advantages to buying a car is you have no mileage limitation. You can drive as much as you want to. You can customize a car. You can do whatever you want to it, and you don't have to worry about it. And a few of the downsides to buying a car is that obviously your monthly payments are going to be higher because you're buying the entire car and it's going to be paid off within a few years, within a certain amount of years. So your monthly payments are going to be higher than if you lease a car. On top of that, you have to worry about maintenance. Anything that happens, you have to take care of, especially the older the car gets, the more that becomes a worry. And then the last thing is you feel like you don't have the newest tech. You don't have the newest stuff inside your car. You see these new cars coming out with all these cool new features, and your old car, is not going to have those things. So you start to feel a little jealous. You start to see these cool things going on in the automobile industry, and it starts getting you in that mode, that you want to get a new car. So the real question here is, how big of a difference does it make? Is my sacrifice worth it? Do I really need to get a used car and drive it into the ground, or buy a car and drive it for 6, 7, 8 years? Or can I just go ahead and lease a new car every 3 years and be happy? But now I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to go through actual numbers for an Acura TLX. So I actually drive an Acura TLX. I drive a 2017 TLX, I believe. But I just pulled one up, a 2021 TLX. I got the numbers, and we're going to break it down, and we're going to do it over a 6-year period. So for the lease, it's going to be leasing twice versus, buying it and financing it for 6 years versus buying the 3-year-old one and financing that over 5 years. And we'll see how much money you actually save for buying the used one compared to buying the new one compared to, leasing it. All right, let's do it. All right, so if we see here, this is a current lease offer on an Acura TLX, a 2021. So you can lease this thing for $399 a month, plus you're putting down $3,999, which includes the first payment. And then you have, your tax, title, and registration and those fees that are added in. So the first thing that I like to do when comparing this stuff is I want to see what is my total cost over the life of the lease. So now this is a 10,000 mile a year lease. So the cost is $399 per month. Total lease payments, $14,364. And now we have $3,999 due at signing, but that includes the first month payment. So we need to back that out. So total due at signing, we're going to say $3,600. And then for tax, title, fees, and everything, that depends on your state. Like Montana, there's no state tax. Let's just say this is $1,000 in tax, title, and fees on there. So the total cost of this lease over the 36 months is going to be $18,964. And now for this scenario, we're going to lease a new car again at the end of the 3 years. So I'm just going to double it. I'm going to say that we're going to get, the same cost lease 3 years from now. We're going to do it over again. So at the end of 6 years, we have leased 2 cars, and the total cost has been $37,928. Now at the end of 6 years, we have no equity because we don't own any of these cars. We're leasing them. So at the end of 6 years, we're going to have to get another car again. But we're just going to compare this 6-year period. All right, so now let's compare that to buying this car. So let's say that we could buy this car for $34,000. All right, we've negotiated down from the MSRP down to $34,000. We're going to finance it for 6 years. And let's say that the interest rate is 5%, which is around what it is right now. Like some dealerships, they offer 0% promotions, but you have to realize when you get that 0%, you are paying full MSRP. They are not giving you any discounts, any incentives. You're not getting any kind of deal on that car. So we're going to say 5%. All right, now we're going to put $3,000 down. So we're only going to finance $31,000 here. And then we have to pay $2,000, we'll say, in taxes and fees. So now the taxes are basically doubled here because you pay taxes on the whole purchase price, where with a lease, you're only paying the taxes on the amount that you actually lease. So our loan is $31,000, 6 years, 5%. That comes out to $499 per month. So if we take that $499 per month and we multiply it by the 72 months that we're going to be financing that car, we're going to be making a total of $35,928 in payments. So the total cost over the 6-year period was $40,928. So now let's just make the assumption that 6 years later, this Acura would be worth $12,000. That means that our total cost for owning this car over the 6 years is $28,928. So in this scenario, over the 6 years, we have $9,000 more by buying the car and selling it at the end rather than leasing for those 6 years. And now just to throw out there, I know it gets harder, once you've owned the car for 6 years, but now for every year after that you continue to own this car, you have no payment on it. So it's not costing you anything to own that car for that year that you keep on going. Yes, the value will depreciate a little bit, but when you start getting into the 6th and 7th year of the car, the depreciation, it is very minimal. So it is really not going to reduce the resale value of the car by that much driving it in that 7th year, in that 8th year, in that 9th year. It's just you have to suffer through driving a car that's 7 or 8 or 9 years old, and most people don't really want to do that. All right, so now let's quickly compare if we were to just go ahead and buy a used TLX. Let's say that we buy a 2018 TLX that just came off lease. So maybe it has around 35,000 miles on it, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to buy it from a dealer. And let's say that we're able to negotiate a price at $19,000 for that car. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to finance it for 5 years at a 5% interest rate. So the monthly payment is going to be $359 per month. So now we're not putting any money down on this one. So no money out of pocket, $359 per month, which would be $21,554 it would cost us over that 5-year period. And now we did have taxes and fees that we had to pay up front when we purchased the car. Let's say that that's $1,000. So the total out-of-pocket cost would be $22,540. Now remember, we only financed this one for 5 years. So that 6th year, when we're going to be comparing apples to the other two scenarios, that 6th year, we don't have a car payment on there. So over the 6-year period, it costs us $22,540 to own this car. And now at the end of 6 years, let's say that we want to trade this in, or we want to sell it and we want to upgrade. The residual value, let's guesstimate that it would be around $7,000. That means our total cost would be $15,540 for owning it during that 6-year period. So now if we compare that to buying a new car, this is actually $13,388 better than buying a new Acura. Now, if we compare it to leasing a new TLX every 3 years for that, 2-3 year periods for those 6 years, we are saving $22,388 compared to leasing the new car. So now that is a very big difference. But, it comes down to, do you want to drive a car that is 3 years old, that's not brand new, that's not going to have the brand new car smell, and drive it for 6 years? Now, I have no judgment. Many of my friends, many people I know, they just want to lease cars, and they just lease a new car every 3 years. My wife, she's all over me about getting a new car, and she wants to just lease cars, and she looks at it when we buy a car that I'm like locking her into something that she doesn't want to be in. So I get it. I understand that, people want to lease cars and have that new car smell. And it just comes down to what's most important to you. So I don't think that it's a disaster leasing a car. It just depends on you and your goals and your lifestyle. So I hope that you found this helpful. Please make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Please hit that subscribe button if you have not subscribed and joined the community already. I'm posting new videos once a week, each Friday. Check out schoolofpersonalfinance.com. Join my email list. I send out emails once or twice a week when I have a new blog post or when I upload a new video. Thanks again for being here. I appreciate it. I will see you again next week. Thanks.